Before we jump into today's topic, a quick disclaimer. The stories and data we share come from the states that we practice in and the experiences that we personally had, which can differ greatly across our country and certainly the globe. This is not a professional advice show. So let's get comfy and talk about death.
Hello and welcome to Mort Mike,
a down-to-earth discussion on death and dying.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Sierra.
And I'm Red, and we're your thanatotherapists today. For legal purposes, we're not therapists, by the way. Today's topic is something I think all of our listeners can get a little nugget from. It's definitely a situation that's affected everyone. Your friend makes that unfortunate post on Facebook. You get the call that no one wants to get. Someone who you love has just lost someone that they love. Now what? What do you say to them? And will it even help? This is no easy feat. Even though we've briefly talked about it in episodes past, we thought that this discussion was worth its weight for its own episode. So it actually might be easier to start this discussion more so in the realm of what not to do. What are the don'ts of speaking with a grieving person? Some things that are just absolutely off the table. Do not say, do not do not pass go, do not collect $200.
There's so many bad things you could say too. Like the list is never ending.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, some comments can seem like semi-harmless, but the overall will make more of a negative impact than they will a positive one. I feel like for me, like the tippity top of the iceberg has got to be the "I'm so sorry." And like I even do it sometimes. Like it's like a default that a lot of us will go to just because oh shit, sorry bro, that sucks about Graham.
Oh man,
but it's just like
it's just a reflex.
It's just awkward. You're now back to this person into the corner of like, oh yeah, it's okay because it's really not. So
you know what? I never actually like thought about the "I'm so sorry" because like I know it's different strokes for different folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I almost like "I'm so sorry," not because I think that this person, killed Graham or whatever. But like it's better than like somebody who's being like, "Oh, I'll keep you in my prayers." Don't bother. You can keep them. Like
Jesus has forgotten about me.
Listen, whatever you're praying for now, I guarantee I've undone in the last like 6 or 7 years. So it's okay. I don't know. The "I'm so sorry" at least is like, oh, I'm taken aback by like hearing this. Like, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's definitely the tone. Is it an "I'm so sorry" with a hand on the shoulder actually offering support, or is it a sorry.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the follow-up afterwards?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so valid.
Yeah.
The famous scene in Avatar where he's like, "My last girlfriend turned into the moon." And Zuko's like, "That's a bummer, man." Like,
bro, that sucks.
That's probably not the best approach.
Yeah, not at all. It's also just because that is so many knee-jerk reactions. Like everybody is hearing that hundreds of times over. So putting a little extra spice on it can kind of set you apart a little bit. Not that we're trying to play like favorites here, or anything.
I absolutely am playing favorites.
Well, no, and it's what do you say? Like, what's better? My condolences. That's not much better.
No, that's like a Hallmark card says that.
That's what I was about to say. I was going to say, like, take your Hallmark card and shove it. Like, it's not helpful at all.
Then if you just add a few words on, "I'm sorry for your loss," like it just all feels bad and awful.
It feels hollow.
It's so hard.
It does, yeah. Especially when you're reading them as Facebook comments. And it's all like, "Condolences to you and your family," like, "Oh, hope things get easier," or "So sorry to hear this, keeping you in my thoughts and prayers." It's like, shut up. It's always people that you haven't talked to either. You know what I mean? Like people coming out of the woodworks to be like, "Ooh, this post is blowing up. Better show that I support them." It's like, listen, man, you don't care. Stop pretending to. Not to sound jaded, but
well, no, but social media definitely puts a really awkward people in awkward positions on the grieving side and like the sending condolences side. Like, I think it's an awkward theater of grief that we see on social media, because I know we had a friend lose somebody recently, and they were like debating, like, do I even put this on Facebook? Because like what? Like, people are just they're gonna see it. I mean, at least they know, like, oh, this person's not gonna be available, I shouldn't bother them, or giving them space and stuff. Like, that's, I guess, one of the positives. But then it's just like everybody's like, oh, do whatever in the comment. Like, it is just so meaningless. It's just like a meaningless show of support by commenting on somebody's post. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's just my opinion. Like, I don't know if somebody had made a post, maybe that helps them to see all of that stuff. But
yeah, I think it definitely goes by the individual. I recently had a friend who lost somebody she was like pretty close with, and she didn't want to post, but for like a different reason. She didn't want to post because she felt like it would be not as genuine as a post made by some of his closer friends, even though like the grief that she was experiencing is still very real and like very real to her. You know what I mean?
No, that's definitely what we were talking about in the episode of Disenfranchised Grief, is like like rating yourself and ranking yourself against other people. Because yeah, of course people are going to think stuff of like, wow, like they were just satellite friends. Why is she making a post? You know, like,
yeah, like, why are you acting like this affects you? Like, this is so much worse.
And really, no one's thinking any of that. Everybody's just sad equally, and you're all able to be sad and express it however you need to.
Exactly.
I'll play devil's advocate. Sometimes I see some people post things and I'm like, okay, sure. All I'm saying is, if I kick the bucket and certain people start posting, oh my God, I'm gonna miss Sierra so much, blah 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 blah, fucking comment on there. Tell them to shut up. Like, knock it off. Oh, just for our listeners too, I'm a little grumpy today. I'm coming off of like 8 days in a row of working, so I'm a little jaded. Coming in hot and spicy today.
Perfect for an episode that needs empathy. It's awesome.
Yeah, oh great. Let me tell you how to be empathetic. Don't. Just kidding.
They in school, it was weird. We had like a local funeral director teaching one of our classes. And he had mentioned, he's like, you got to be careful with what you say, you know, to families as a funeral director, because not everybody's going to take the same comment like the same way. Which is like, okay, yeah, there's outliers, because they brought that up specifically. He's like, don't say I'm sorry for your loss, because he had one time that a family was like, well, we didn't lose him, like you didn't lose him, like he's gone, he died. And it's just like, okay, well, people always have like interpretation thrown on some of these things. Like, on God, I had a lady once, I was just coming in to do my check-in, like after the initial first view. Like, I'll always come back in, like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, just be like, so how does he look? Can I get you anything? You doing okay? You know, whatever.
How's he look? He looks dead.
Well, yeah. Well, exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this. Like, people will interpret what you say very liberally sometimes. And like, yeah, I went up to her, I'm like, is there anything that I can get you? Anything I can do for you? And she's just straight up like looks me in the eyes so tearfully, is like, can you bring him back? And I'm like, bitch, what am I supposed to fucking do with this? Like, I wanted to see if I can get you water.
You were like, yeah, let me get the candles. Hold on. Oh, you should have done. What was that movie where they had the limes and the coconuts and they were all witches and they brought back that chick's boyfriend?
Yeah, let me just get my coven together really quick.
Yeah, I can't remember what that movie was, but
Practical Magic.
Practical Magic. Yeah, you're like, yeah, give me 2 seconds. Let me call the girls.
Yeah, right.
Fuck?
Yeah. I'd show up. You know what? And for her, I think we could do it. I think we could pull it together.
There we go.
100%.
Our necromancy degrees are coming in.
Listen.
Yeah, exactly. I know enough about dead people. I'm sure I can bring them back to life.
I'll roll high for necromancy, probably.
There we go.
Maybe? I don't know. Probably wouldn't.
And then I'd probably just trip and fall performing the spell, and then
oh my god, we have 2 funerals now.
Oh god, it's like Pet Cemetery all over again. It ricochets off poor grandma. Ends up bringing back the yappy dog. Like shit.
Nightmare.
Ugh.
I think another phrase that can be helpful but also hurtful depending on how you use it, it is like the asking like what happened.
Ugh, I hate what happened.
Sometimes people just want to talk about it and don't get the chance to, but at the same time it just feels like you're being a looky-loo and you're being nosy. like especially if it's an uncommon death, like a trauma or something.
I'm the nosiest bitch around. Like, I love knowing how somebody died, but I just could not possibly imagine going up to somebody grieving and just being like, what happened?
What?
Tell me about the trauma you're experiencing right now.
Right, exactly.
Jesus. I don't know, man. So my family sucks at grieving, right? And we're all really fucking bad at like being nice when nobody feels good. You know what I mean? So like somebody to come up to me and be like, oh, so what happened? He fucking died. What do you mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
What else do you want to know? Oh my gosh, it was really tragic. He shit himself in his last like 30 minutes. Is that like what you want to hear? You know? Like, come on, dude. Do better.
Oh yeah, that's the best, is to give a really, really just blunt, straightforward answer that is just way too detailed. And then people are like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Right?
Yeah. I think people need a reminder that not all information should be accessible to them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's the other downfall of the internet and social media, like we were saying, is what happened is everybody on Facebook trying to figure out, oh, I saw this person posted this, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then it's all around everywhere. Everybody's talking about it, not talking about the person, but how did they die? Oh my God, what happened?
Oh, especially when it's like a sudden kind of thing, not like a you old and it's the time.
Yeah, it just becomes like clickbaity news.
Exactly.
What news gets the most attention, you know, and like that surrounding death is usually the thing. Is like, how did they die? Because everybody wants to know. Like, we'll even get that at the funeral home, just working visitation, where neighbors or whoever the fuck guests show up that aren't immediate family will like try to get information out of us as workers. Like bro, get the fuck out of it. We've even gotten phone calls on like actual traumatic deaths, like people, the car crashes or homicides or whatever, like people on the phone trying to pick away and like get information. It's fucked up, dude. People are way too nosy about stuff sometimes, and that can definitely come off in a very wrong way, especially like if the death itself was very circumstantially fucked up.
Yeah. People be liking to know things that they don't really need to be knowing, you know?
Yeah, just busybody shit. Like, sorry, fucking Phyllis, 70-year-old Phyllis. Like, the same four walls you have to look like every day are boring as shit in retirement, and this is like the only bit of extracurricular you get.
Oh, yeah. Because it's always the old people.
Yeah, I'm sorry Fox News got too repetitive.
Mm-hmm. It's never the young people that are like, what happened? It's always the old biddies that are like, I deserve to know everything because I'm on my way out. So
right.
That's valid.
Maybe they're just trying to prepare and they're like, I got to know every way to die ever.
I have such a weird off-the-wall question, but it's like semi-related.
Okay.
Do you think that generation, because they didn't experience like, I'm trying to think about the best way to word this before I offend everybody. Like when we were younger, we had full access to the internet, right? And there was always like the live leaks and like shit like that where you could just watch people die. Like that was a thing that happened.
Right.
Happened in lunchrooms during like fucking middle school, you know? And now you have like, so I feel like our generation and like the generation below us, like nobody's like as morbidly curious about this kind of stuff because like we've seen worse or we already know. You know what I mean? Like I'm wondering if that's like a thing or if that's just me reaching.
I mean, that could be the case.
No, I mean, I think that tragedy is like really, really apparent in society today. We see it in movies, in television, in our society as it is. Gun violence is rampant. I think that trauma and tragedy is just kind of built into all citizens of America at this point.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's an unfair thing to think about. Like, because, yeah, I mean, what? If somebody our age was to die, it's like, okay, was it OD? Was it gunshot or car accident? Like, and I wouldn't be surprised if anybody said any combination of those.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a bad driver. I'm assuming that's how I'm going to go.
I'm just waiting for that call, Sierra. I'm just waiting.
We've had this discussion before.
I don't know. That's just a kind of an off-the-wall thought that I had. Because it is always the fucking old people that like call in or like, they're like, oh, so what happens? What's going on? How'd she die? That's crazy. Always a floozy, that one, you know?
I think there might be something to that for sure. I mean, different generational shit. Also, just like which generations have more boundaries between like personally shared information.
Period. Yeah.
I think that's a big part. Like the matriarch of the family always feels very entitled to all the information.
Gotta know everything about everything. Yeah.
Damn, that's such a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
My mom be up in everybody's business.
Tea queen.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Another like thing that I unfortunately hear, like this sounds like, oh, no one would ever do this. The reason I bring it up is because I fucking have heard it. Is like comparisons. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, like sometimes like sharing some of your own personal experiences when somebody's telling you about theirs can be a way to bond, a way that you're trying to connect with them and show like, oh, I can understand what you're feeling. But it doesn't always go over super good because it's like you're railroading them by making it about yourself. Or like, to them it could sound like your situation was worse, so it makes them feel like they can't feel their feelings. So like, tread with caution for sure about sharing your own personal stories with people in moments of grief, because it could connect you, but it could also like immediately shut somebody down too.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, especially when you're at the funeral. You hear all kinds of little yipping in the back about, I saw Phyllis last week at her funeral and she was looking this way. Like,
you're right.
All the little yips about things. I think I'm focused on the old biddies in all of this right now. I'm
Take that, like, Phyllis.
I know these women. I know them. I've seen them at all the funerals. They're regulars.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, exactly. Especially once you reach a certain age, and if you're in like a more tight knit community, like I don't know what. Once you hit 50, just everybody starts dying. Like you're gonna be attending like 5 funerals a year. That's just gonna be what you do.
It's crazy.
That's just how life is. I think going off the comparison thing too. It's so. I think like. There's a time and place for it, right? And like, obviously I have ADHD, if that wasn't super apparent. So like trying to like connect with like, oh no, I relate to you and I understand what you're going through. And here's an example of how I relate is one thing, but like checking in with that person being like, is like, do you want to talk about it? Is this like, an open dialogue, or do you just need space is like one of the most important things that you can do for somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
I have definitely had people be like, well, when my grandpa died, and at the time, I wasn't feeling so great. And like I said previously, my family and I get mean when we're like hurting. And I have definitely said some mean shit, where it's like, shut up. Like, I don't care about your fucking grandpa. Like, he's not the one dying right now, bitch.
Right,
like,
this is me right now. Yeah.
Give me my 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have to leave space for others while also showing them that you relate to them and that you care about them. There is that space. It does exist. There's just definitely a more tactful way to go about it.
Oh, 100%. I've definitely had people come up to me. So most recent example would be my opa's we did a celebration of life because nobody fucking likes funerals because we don't do grieving. So it's just an excuse for everybody to have an open bar. Very slay. But I had somebody come up to me and they were telling me about how like I should be happy about this because like there's such worse things that could happen and blah, blah, blah. And I literally like just completely disengaged with the conversation. And I just turned around and walked away as they were like mid-sentence. And just like... Because, like, what the fuck am I supposed to say to that? You know what I mean? I was like, okay. And I just turned and walked away. And, like, later my nana was like, did you realize he was still talking? And I was like, sure did. Yep.
That's baller. I think that's completely appropriate.
I think so, too.
So annoying.
Sometimes if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
I think that's really poignant for sure in this situation. Like a lot of these weird knee-jerk reactions and like cliche things that we say to people that are grieving is because we don't know what to say, and we're feeling awkward, and so we just feel like we need to fill the air by saying something. So just maybe next time, just don't say anything. Just don't fucking say anything, because it could end up being worse than saying something. It's crazy. It's so crazy, some of the shit that I've heard. I mean, have you two ever had someone say something that like explicitly like sticks in your mind, like when you've lost somebody that's just like, oh my god, like why did you fucking say this?
Do you want to go first? What do you want me to do?
Go for it.
Okay. Oh my god, yeah, I have a couple fun little stories, and I'll keep them brief. I think so. Okay, so we all suck at grieving. Cool, we all know this. We were out to dinner after our celebration of life, since we don't do funerals. And we went to my Opa's favorite restaurant, Slay, one of my favorite places too. We used to go together all the time. We used to go and get the fucking prime rib, because the prime rib is fantastic there. And we got there, and that's what I ordered, because that's what I always order. And my mother had the caucasity to lean over, and she goes, "Oh, his favorite restaurant for his favorite girl." And of course, my fucking waterworks start, right? Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
And I hadn't cried the whole time, right? Because nobody was crying. So go me, go team. And then I start crying, and I'm trying to pull it together, but once one tear falls, they keep going. But I'm also a silent crier, so I wasn't making any noise. I just was sitting there with little tears rolling into my French onion soup, which unfortunately made it a little bit saltier.
Your Studio Ghibli tears.
Yeah, just a little bit too salty. That's already a crazy amount of sodium.
It needed some seasoning, man. That's all I was doing, was helping it along. Anyway, yeah, my mother was like, "Would you knock that off? We are not doing that in public. Go to the bathroom." And I was like, "Ah!"
The wrongest way to
So I went to the bathroom to try to stop crying.
Dude.
And I kind of did, but I came back, and she was like, "You need to sit next to me." I was like, "Oh, okay." And she separated me and my partner at the time. And then just because she was treating me like a child. Mind you, I was 26 at the time. I was not 12. It was very recent, so I'm not revealing my age. Fuck all of you. I'm young.
Just fucking shutting somebody's grieving and emotions down like that is absolutely insane. To hear that.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
That's 10 times worse than what happened.
I know. Yeah. I was like, girl.
I'm so sorry.
Another thing, though, I'm going to throw this one out there, too. Similar experience. I understand that, a lot of the Facebook comments are just super empty. They're, hollow. It's just people commenting and stuff like that. But I do think it is nice to see that people are almost, or at least that they reach out, they touch base with you, they see how you're doing. I had a couple of friends who are no longer friends, by the way, throwing that one out there.
Goodness.
How that trajectory went. Who, once I had this, big old loss in my life, never reached out to me. They never commented on anything. They tried to go on everything was normal, it was a typical day to day. And when I confronted them about that, and I confronted them in a not very polite way, I'll put that out there. I definitely was they were like, "Hey, do you want to get dinner soon?" I was like, "You haven't said anything about my dead grandpa." And they were like, "Oh, well, I don't know. You don't like talking about your feelings, so I just assumed you wouldn't want to talk about it. So I just haven't said anything." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but he's dead and I'm hurt and I don't know how to deal with that, and you're not a very good friend. Fuck you."
Right. Basically making that decision for somebody else without asking them. Even if you weren't a person that is known to share their emotions by any means, somebody shouldn't be making that decision for you. It's one sentence of, "Hey, do you want to talk about it?" It's just allow that person to set the boundaries at the time, because a grieving brain is not a normal brain. It is on high alert, red alert, on fire. People's personalities change. That person that's usually emotionally shut off might, in those moments of grief, be a completely different person with completely different needs. So do not make assumptions for somebody else.
Check in on your friends.
Absolutely. And I think that opening up opening up the door to speak about the person who's passed away, not as if they're still there, but as if they were, you know, a big part of your life. One of my coworkers lost her brother 20 so years ago, and we talk about him, and I've only known her for 5 years, but we talk about him monthly, maybe. Like he is a part of her life because, you know, he was for a long time, and that means a lot to her to be able to talk about her brother in a way that doesn't make her sad. She can just talk about him. And like, that's also another way you can check on your friends, you know, tell me about this person, not what happened to them. How did they die? Tell me about who they were, you know?
Right.
That is always a really wonderful way to open up the topic of grief.
I agree. Like, somebody's death is such a blip on the radar of their entire life. So to let it just be culminated by like just their death is such a slap in the face to the 50, 60, 80, 90 years that they lived between their birth and that time. Like you're just minimizing that person's life and the importance that they played in somebody else's. And yeah, like it just, just create space for somebody to be able to grieve and treating them like not, I know it's awkward. I know this is one of the most awkward conversations for people to have, but like shying away from it is going to make that person feel like isolated, like they can't talk about it, like that you don't want to talk about it. And so you're not going to be a resource to them as an emotional like friend that they can talk to about these things. It's super fucking important. And I've at least, fortunately, I've seen a lot of negatives like while working, like family members or neighbors or friends being awful about letting their loved ones grieve. But I personally have been pretty lucky. Like when I lost my grandma, I didn't really know what I needed as a funeral director. That just kind of weirdly complicated my grief because I just kind of went into work mode of like, okay, I'm gonna go get there early so I can see how they did grandma's makeup and make sure she looks good. Like I just kind of went into work mode. And what really mattered to me in those moments was just like somebody being there. When I had posted about it, like one of my friends was just like, do you need me to come with you? Like, do you need a +1? Like, I can be there with you, like whatever. And they came, and like, I didn't realize like how much I needed that. They didn't really interact much. They were just a presence, but having that like root there outside of just like family was so key in what I needed to grieve in that moment. Like it made a huge fucking difference that somebody just was there, and like they would run and get anything if I asked them for it. That they held my hand when they saw me cry. Like it was perfect. Just even having that silent friend there just to be there.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how much their like presence matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just having somebody like within your vicinity. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to like do anything. Like just being there is super, super comforting.
Yeah, especially in like the sea of comments that are just thinking about you, love
thoughts
and prayers.
And prayers.
Yeah, like actually being in person with somebody who's grieving makes a fucking difference. Even if it's just to be like, message your friend and be like, hey, you need a distraction, like you want to go, let me take you out to dinner, let me come over, we'll watch a movie. Like just spending time with them.
Ray took me to Twin Peaks to look at hot girls after my Opa died.
That's beautiful. Genius.
It was such a good thing. I was all sad and shit, and he was like, hey, I'm coming over. I was like, I'm not putting on makeup or anything. He was like, I don't care, we're going to Twin Peaks. I was like, okay. And I was like, this is great.
It's perfect.
That's what Twin Peaks is for.
Well, I know we've talked about a lot of things like that not to do, but let's talk about some things that are actually like positive, things that you should try to do more of that would be more helpful or open more dialogue with you and somebody who's grieving.
I think one of the most like beneficial things and things that like made the most impact to me was actually read when you were like, you know, tell me some stories about this, or like tell me about who he was as like a person, or like, you know, explain to me like the good memories and stuff, instead of getting like, you know, bombarded with the constant like, do you want to talk, like what happened, you know what I mean? And it gave me an outlet to focus on the positivity, you know?
Yeah, no one has to be scared that the person is dead we all know that they're dead. We can talk about it. We can talk about who they are.
Yeah, just opening up, because that's what was awkward for me, is like the transition from like being a funeral director to being a friend in those moments. And like that was my first knee jerk, was like, okay, no, yes, he's dead, and we just need to start talking about him. So it's asking the questions of what's something that you're going to miss about him the most? What was the last like interaction you guys had when he was still well? Things like that. It's just start to come into questions that can be open-ended and allow that person to explore their memories, really, of that person that they loved so much. Because there's going to be a fuck ton of them, and I'm sure that they would really like to talk about those more. Because when a funeral's happening, are we talking about how the person died? Hopefully not. I've seen a few that have tried to do that. It's fucking awful. But it's about sharing story, like creating a time and space to share stories about the person that passed away. Like that's the fucking point. So let people tell the stories of their loved ones. Just start with a little question, and from there you can probably open up way more avenues from that than you would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like it's not as hard as you think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm a notoriously bad question asker. Like in conversation, I'll just get caught up and not think about it. But it is truly one of the easiest things to do, to just be like, oh, tell me about them.
Yeah, exactly. I would definitely recommend that more than anything, like trying that with your loved ones. I mean, well, before that, also just setting boundaries is just a big one. Kind of how we mentioned, just what are they comfortable talking about? Like acknowledging that somebody has died, not shying away from it, and just asking them like, so what do you need right now? Like, do you want to talk? Do you want to avoid this? I want to make sure I give you the space to be able to grieve. Some people's families, Sarah, aren't great at giving them space to talk. So they might need that outlet, or they're just so numb from having told the stories over and over again, and they've cried all the tears they think that they can cry, and they just don't want to talk about it anymore. So setting a boundary just is probably first and foremost before anything else, but definitely going into questioning after that of just talk about the guy, talk about the person. What are some other good thumbs up behaviors to you guys?
Bring me food.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
We should just make that a daily thing. That's just an all-around good thing. Do that always. Please bring me food.
The funeral casseroles.
Yeah, exactly. If I can get a little treat, I'm gonna be a little happier.
It'll help.
No matter what. Yeah, it will help. It won't fix me. It's a Band-Aid for sure.
Right.
But definitely just the warmth and company of someone who wants to, it doesn't have to be food, but just bring you something to prove that they're there. Just an action of love that means something to both of you.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, flowers are very overplayed.
Yes.
But for me,
I love flowers.
I do love flowers. I don't want to receive, 500 of them, but like a single red rose to be like, to symbolize someone passing is like, that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And that would be something that I would appreciate. And I know that my friends and my family would do something like that for me specifically. And so there are like talking to people and saying what you would want if something were to happen, like what you would need. And maybe you don't know until it happens. And that's very, very possible. But, trying to prepare yourself is also good.
I think it's very underestimated how legitimately asking somebody how they're doing can make a huge difference. Not just like the offhand and like how you doing, champ. Legitimately asking, because a lot of times these people have not slept well or eaten. It's affecting their work and their personal interactions with other people. So actually like reaching out and being like, hey, can I do an action for you that you're probably suffering at right now? Like, do you have yard work that I can help with? Like,
let's go for a walk.
Yes. Getting some sunshine.
There's nothing so wonderful as taking a walk and just being able to like breathe in some fresh air and talk to somebody who gives a shit about you.
For sure. Yeah. Like if somebody were to take the time to do that type of thing, holy shit, like the impact that you will make on that person's life, it's unfathomable. It's beautiful.
Oh, 100%. Piggybacking off of the like flowers situation, or like, I guess, gift giving. Our friend Chrissy was the only person that sent me flowers.
Yeah.
And like I still think about it to this day, and it was like the sweetest thing anybody's ever done. And so like it does make an impact, man. Even on the people that you don't think it'd make an impact on, like we be thinking about it forever.
Also, just as a side note on flowers too. Now we're talking about flowers. Sorry.
We could do a whole episode on flowers.
God damn! Do you know how many? Most of your flowers are being thrown away. I just hope most people know that. Like, if it's not like a cute little arrangement.
Yeah, when I worked at the funeral home, I took most of your flowers home. Just think about that.
Yeah, we make new arrangements out of the arrangements left over and take them. Well, we do donate some.
Oh, that's so smart. Oh my God. Donate.
Yeah.
What do you donate them to? Where the fuck do they go?
So there was like actually some cute like little old ladies in the community that would take them and like take them to nursing homes or like whatever, just to brighten up like stuff like that for other people that are like sick and shit.
Hospital rooms, stuff like that.
That is really cute.
Yeah. But if they were full up or whatever or busy, then we would just take them home.
But it's also a little grim. Like you're in the hospital and you get a dead guy's flowers.
You don't have to tell the dead guy's flowers. Yeah, I don't think they're telling him either.
I feel like they were probably doing the same thing that we were doing, taking them and making like new arrangements that didn't look so funeral-y, because you can really tell a funeral flower from a knot.
From a knot. Yeah, that's valid.
All the other floral arrangements have a light airiness to them that funeral home flowers just don't.
Well, especially those giant ass. I hate them. The giant, there's called standing sprays or standing easels or whatever. They're fucking enormous, and they're typically just like family pieces.
Oh, the fucking wreath things.
Yeah, the big standing ones. And like if you order that for somebody, they can't do anything with that. Like there's no space in the home for something like that. So a lot of times like those ones 10 out of 10 will get left behind or just left at a cemetery or be eaten by deer. So at least like plants, a lot of families will take like plants home and shit. So I'd just be wary of the flowers you're sending to people, because they'll probably just go in the fucking trash. So it's just that's my fucking soapbox for today.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, also, you know, if you know that the family has pets, maybe don't get, like, pet-killing flowers, like lilies and shit.
Exactly.
Very true. I think about that all the time.
And some people have more allergies to flowers than you, like, know. So just order the fucking 20-foot-long sub for the family, for their visitation. Like, that's gonna go over way better, I promise.
Yeah, or cakes and pies.
Exactly.
Or just give them money. We live in a capitalist society. Give them money.
Funerals are expensive. So yeah, like giving money towards like funeral arrangements is always something super helpful.
I always remember setting up the like donation box and stuff that people would be like, oh, you know, donate to the local pet shelter. No, donate to my family for how expensive this freaking funeral is.
Yeah, period.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, unless you're writing a check for it, like we would always just give those donation envelopes to the family to do with what they please. And so like who would stop them from cracking it open and just taking the money, you know? So it's
that's what I'd be
just
doing.
Something to think about.
Yeah, honestly though, like if you're grieving and shit, and that shit's so expensive anyway, you might as well just take the fucking money.
You deserve it at that point, for sure.
Yeah, go get yourself something nice. Grandma would have wanted that.
Yeah.
It was her last wish.
Yeah, it was
treat yourself.
The pet shelter.
Yeah, steal from the pet shelter. Just kidding.
So I feel like the moral of today's story is just show up. Not necessarily have to be at the funeral. You don't have to go to the funeral proper, but just being present in a grieving person's life will make huge differences to them. Just having like the physical reminder that somebody's there for them and giving them that space that they need. To talk or to not talk, either way, whatever they need. So I think we can all do better as a society of not shying away from death and being the awkward one in that situation. Because all in all, that's kind of just making it about you and your weird feelings about your relationship to death. So being able to tackle that and be present for somebody is going to go miles, miles, miles and miles.
Say it, Queen.
Your presence is a present. So
present. There we
I was
go.
Resisting saying that the whole time, Sarah. I'm so mad. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't say it, because I say that to all the trainees at work. When they come in, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, your presence is a present, buddy.
Oh, you're so much nicer than me. Anytime I show up anywhere, I'm like, oh, my presence is a present. You're welcome.
Oh, I also, I use it on myself quite a lot.
Oh yeah, use it as a weapon. Yeah, weaponize it.
Weaponize it. Weaponize my presence.
It's so fucking funny.
Ugh. Yeah, just be a person. You know, and I don't know, be nice. It's not hard. It's not hard to not be a shithead.
It's really not. It takes usually more effort to make things worse. So just be open. Be open to what somebody needs, and stop leaving it in their field. Be like, oh, let me know if you need anything. No, take control and just say, we're going somewhere. We're doing something. I'm bringing you this. Stop giving them the chance to reach out to you, because they fucking won't. So
start kidnapping your grieving friends.
Kidnap your grieving friends. Tie them up.
It'll
Gag
work.
them.
Yes.
What are they going to do about it?
Can't talk.
They're going to love it.
Well, unfortunately, I think some of them would.
Oh, Lord. And with that, that'll be all this week on Mort Mike. Connect with us on our socials at Facebook and YouTube at Mort Mike Podcast. And if you have any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear about, or burning questions you might have about death, shoot us an email at mortmikepodcast@gmail.com.
A huge thanks to Joey, our dedicated studio gopher, Marson Music for our theme Deputies of Death, and Macklin Legan for our custom icons and banners.
Be sure to tune in the first Thursday of every month for more casual discussions on death. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Mort Mike.
Bye.
Bye.